football on JP Sports is brought to you by Infinity, who invites you to test drive the Q45 sedan or M30 Sports Coupe. By your local oil heat dealer. Compare cost, comfort, and safety. You'll choose Oil Heat. By the Schick Slim Twin Disposable Razor. It reaches every place on every face. And by Budget Rent-A-Car. For a rental that's loaded with extras at a price that isn't, the smart money is on budget.
Just a few moments before the kickoff here for the second half. We're with Barry Wilson. Coach, I know you're disappointed you didn't get any points on the board there in the first half.
Well, I'm more proud of the effort so far. We're certainly anxious to get some points on the board, Mike, but we just got to execute a little bit better down in close and keep doing what we're doing with the effort.
What a difference a week makes. You said you're proud. I know you really got to feel good about what these guys have done defensively and offensively.
Well, I'm pleased with the effort, but we've just got to go out and continue to execute. There's no reason in the world we can't come out and win this football game, and that's what we're out here for.
All right, Barry Wilson feels very positive about his team's chances here in the second half. They're about ready to kick it off, so let's go back upstairs to Jack and John.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Chances is exactly what they did have in the first half. We'll check out our first half statistics in this football game this afternoon, brought to you by Schlitz Malt Liquor. As it turned out, pretty even in total offense in the first half. Time of possession, though, clearly dominated by Duke, especially early in the game.
Well, you see that Duke had a 2-yard advantage in total offense and a 5-minute advantage, almost 4.5 in terms of time of possession. But the key statistic, the turnovers. Duke had one significant turnover in the worst possible place, in the end zone. Because of that, it made their best scoring opportunity die. And as a result, Clemson was able to take the 7-0 advantage. They go on and get the field goal late in the first half from Chris Gardocki, the 51-yarder, putting Duke in the hole 10-0. Their defense, John, is going to have to be able to shut down Clemson on this first possession to try and give a boost to their offense.
All right, Jack, thank you very much. We are getting set for the kickoff to start the second half of play. And we mentioned at the beginning that the opening toss had been won by Clemson. They deferred their option to the second half, so they'll be receiving to start the second half of play here in Death Valley, where it's homecoming on 1990. And two things that need to be avenged for the Tiger fans: the loss to Duke at Duke last year in the rain, and the loss to Georgia Tech here on homecoming. Now, they can take a couple of big steps back, and they have been very successful over the years in bouncing back the following year to handle teams that had beaten them the year before. 10-0 is our halftime score. We get set for the opening kickoff. Larry Ryans will be deep, along with Eric Getter.
In a tight ball game like this, the early possessions of the second half are the most significant ones, because those are the quickest view of the adjustments each coaching staff has made.
From the 11-yard line, Getter a little bit of room as he gets close to the 25, brought down by Sean Thomas. A 14-yard return, and at the 25, it'll be first down 10 for the Tigers of Clemson on homecoming here in Death Valley, leading by a score of 10-0, trying to win their 4th game, trying to set up another bowl trip. And of course, for Ken Hatfield, that is old hat for sure. He's been there 8 straight years.
Well, had great success at Arkansas and at Air Force. He's trying to maintain the winning tradition here with the Tigers. Up 10-0 as we start the second half.
And they'll work out of the I formation. Here's the option play. Cameron with a keeper at the 30. 35, he's ridden down, but he's got a first down. He went down in the arms of Irwin Sampson, but let's give him 11 on the play. And Deshaun Cameron running the option very well here this afternoon.
And let's give some credit at the right-hand side of your screen. A good block by Rudy Harris on Dwayne Marks, the outside linebacker. That enabled Cameron to turn the corner and pick up the first down.
Cameron now has 73 yards rushing. Harris doing some of the blocking for him. Robbie Spector is in at the wide receiver. He's split to the right. Terry Smith to the left. Harrison Williams are the running back. Did not see much of Witherspoon this afternoon. The fullback for 5. Rudy Harris carries out near the 40-yard lines and plugging the middle as he does quite often. Scott Yeomans with some help from Jeff Smith.
The Clemson running game has gone well, but it has been out of surprising spots. The quarterback position and the fullback position. The yards gained out of the tailback spot, the marquee position, if you will, in that Clemson offense, Well, not a whole lot in the first half, just 12 yards out of Ronald Williams.
No tight end, 3 wide receivers, 2 to the left, 1 to the right. Here comes Cameron. Being chased near the line of scrimmage, fires the ball incomplete. He threw that one away as he was being chased out of bounds. Intended for Ryans, but Mark Allen was there to pressure him out of bounds.
I also give a lot of credit to Preston Anderson, the senior defensive tackle. And you get a big guy out there at 260 pounds trying to chase down a guy who is 70, 80 pounds lighter. That's a significant effort by that guy right there, the political science major out of Norwalk, Connecticut.
Stacy Fields comes back on, the tight end. Your name is Stacy. You can probably play for Clemson.
That's right.
You've got 4 of them. And there are 2 starting units, 4 different Stacys. 1 set back here named Rudy Harris. Deshaun Cameron, time over the middle. The pass is complete. At the 48-yard line, Sampson makes the tackle on Fields. That's a 12-yard pickup, and they continue to go to that play, Jack.
Well, as I mentioned in the first half, John, when you have a tendency not to throw to your tight end, the defense forgets about him. And Stacy Fields slips out unnoticed, just finds an open space beyond the first down markers and gets the first down.
And, you know, he was so alone out there, he really didn't know what to do. He kept expecting somebody to come up and hit him.
Well, he caught 2 passes in the first 4 games. He's caught 3 already today.
First and 10 at the 48. Harris fighting for yardage, still on his feet at the 40-35. From behind, he's tripped up inside the 20 by McCracken. They had him stopped at the line of scrimmage. Yeomans had him, but he got away. Picks up the extra yardage inside the 20.
And Yeomans is hurt back at midfield. Rudy Harris gives Clemson that different dimension. Big hit right there. But what had happened to Scott Yeomans, Darrell Spells coming over the top of him, hit more of Yeomans than he did of Harris, and Scott lost the tackle and is just now getting to his feet. I don't know if we have a chance to re-show you that play again.
I'll tell you another thing. McCracken really had to do a job high and then down low just to make the tackle. Even when he caught up with him from behind, it wasn't certain, Jack, that he was going to bring him down. So Duke pays the price. The injury to Yeomans, who has helped off. A 30-yard pickup on the play. Harris has 65 yards in this game. He had only 40 coming into the game.
He was making the hit, and obviously when Darrell Spells went over the top, he somehow caught a piece of Yeoman's right knee. You saw the brace on Yeoman's right knee, and that was the leg he was favoring going out. He lost the grip and is out of the ball game.
12:41 to play third quarter. This is the tailback, Williams. He's down close to the 15, tripped up by Jeff Smith.
Let's watch the previous play one more time. Scott Yeomans, number 55, sets right in the hole, meets Harris head on, and oh, it was a rollover from Preston Anderson. As Bruce Bratton was blocking Anderson, he was rolled into the bad knee of Yeomans, and that's why he lost the grip. It wasn't so much Spells coming over the top, it was the action to his right.
And the injury to his right leg. 2nd and 7. Deshaun Cameron at the 10. On his feet, falls forward to the 7-yard line. Erwin Sampson tripped him up. It'll be 1st and goal for the Tigers of Clemson. An 8-yard pickup, and Cameron continuing with his success on the option.
This is what I talked about at the end of the first half, why Clemson was content to manipulate that clock, and if they had to settle for the field goal, knowing that they would have possession of the football to start the second half if they come away with a score, all of a sudden now they really changed the Duke second half perspective, because Duke will be down 3 scores if they put a touchdown up on the board here.
And offensively, they'll go with 3 running backs. Work out of the wishbone. Williams, Harrison, Caputo, Fields, and Samnick. 2 tight ends. The tight, the power formation at the 7. 1st and goal for Clemson. Leading 10-0, driving for more. Williams inside the 5 to the 4-yard line. Keith Dubose made the tackle along with Dwayne Marks.
What's been interesting, John, when they have gone into the wishbone set, they have tended to run a counter away from the lead block of the fullback. Most times when you get down into those power offensive sets, you try and get as many players going to the point of attack as possible. They've been running the counter, and fairly effectively.
They've got it down to the 4-yard line. Tony Kennedy now checks into the lineup. Williams fighting for the end zone. He'll be a couple yards short. Darrell Spells keeping him away from that goal line with the hit.
And I want to tell you, Rudy Harris unloaded on Erwin Sampson that enabled Ronald Williams to turn upfield. I could hear that collision up here in the press box.
Kennedy comes out of the lineup. Here comes Caputo back on. 15 seconds on the huddle clock. 10:22 on the game clock. Clock is moving. Clemson's first drive of the third quarter started at their own 25. Here's Deshaun Cameron into the end zone, touchdown. Erwin Sampson and Travis Pearson could not stop him. He scores.
I talked about Deshaun Cameron's strength, a 325-pound bench presser as a quarterback. He ran right out of his rib pads. He was so determined to get into the end zone. Look at the rib pads just hanging down. This is a great effort. Decides he's going to do it. There are 3 Duke players there, and he says, you are not going to keep me out of the end zone.
And they did not. Gardaki for the extra point. And with 10:09 to play in the third quarter, Clemson has stretched its lead. The Tigers lead the Blue Devils 17-0. We'll be back to Clemson, South Carolina with more after this. We are back 17-0. It took almost 5 minutes off the clock. A 75-yard march, a 2-yard touchdown run on the strength, and I mean strength of the quarterback.
You will see Travis Pearson, Erwin Sampson, and Quentin McCracken all there, and Cameron just flattened Pearson, the linebacker, and carried the other 2 guys into the end zone. An impressive football game for the redshirt junior out of LaGrange, Georgia.
Rushing total of 82 now. The kickoff will come deep into the end zone. Randy Jones backs up and will not come out. Down to the sidelines. Let's get an update on Yeoman's situation from Mike Hogwood. Mike?
Well, as you guys have said, Scott Yeoman's been a real heart and soul of this defense on that line. He has sprained his ankle, and unfortunately, he's not going to be able to return to the game today. And as you see on his face, he's very disappointed about that. He really wanted to be in here and fight against these Clemson Tigers. But for the rest of the day, at least, Scott Yeoman's is done.
Thank you very much, Mike. And that is a tough break for Duke. Blue Devils will have the football at the 20. And, Jack, they've really got to get something going.
That was the worst thing that could happen to the Duke offense, was to have Clemson come right down and score a touchdown.
Cuthbert and Brown are split behind Brown. The quarterback sets, fires. The pass is caught for a gain of a couple. The tight end Aaron Shaw made the tackle. He is driven back by the Clemson defense, but he'll get about 3 yards on the play. Ed McDaniel leading the charge, and you see Johnson was there. McLaughlin was there as well. Clemson still unscored on at home, and even though it's the kind of thing you know is not going to continue for the whole season, you know the defense thinks about it too.
Well, and this is where this big crowd here at Death Valley helps this defense. They really rev them up when they can fire out on an offense.
And NC State with the lead, as you saw over North Carolina. Cuthbert across the 25 near the 26-yard line. Rob Bodine made the tackle along with Ed McDaniel.
Well, easily the best running play of the day for Randy Cuthbert. He had 11 yards on 7 carries in the first half.
3rd down and 3 for Duke at their own 27. 9:10 remaining third quarter. Clemson has built a 17-0 lead. Duke was shut out last week 59-0 by Virginia. Brown runs away from some pressure. Trying to run for the first down, steps out of bounds as he crosses the 30 to the 32, and he will have that Duke first down.
I think any time that Clemson decides to go into their nickel package, if you will, where they bring out an extra defensive back, try and minimize the number of rushers they have, Dave Brown has got to have it in his mind, if there is space to run the ball for the first down, he has to do that.
He did on that occasion, picking up 5 to the 32. First down and 10. Duke's first possession, third quarter. Brown looks to his tight end. He's got it. Near the 40-yard line, Henderson running Aaron Shaw out of bounds.
Well, there's great tradition here in Tiger Country. They start him young. That guy probably, let's say, maybe a Clemson class of 06 or 07 maybe.
it'll be a while, let's put it that way. Outside the hotel today, there were some young Clemson fans in their cheerleading uniforms. They were already doing cheers for the Tigers at 8 o'clock in the morning. Motion man is Jones. First down, Duke. The 45. Chris Brown picked it up.
Again, Duke has had little problem moving the football until they get into the scoring zone. Last week they had 7 turnovers, 5 of them in their opponent's territory against Virginia. Their lone turnover today was in the Clemson end zone.
They split the tight end in this formation, split the running backs as well. It's the passing formation on first down 10 at the 45. The pass is caught by Jones. He'll be dropped for maybe a loss of a half-yard or so. Brewster and Kirkland, 2 of those outstanding linebackers teaming up. Have you been rating their tackles so far?
Well, I haven't seen a 13 yet, but I've seen some solid 6s and 7s. Again, they run that wrinkle pattern, but what happened that time is that Walter Jones ran it too far back up the middle. You're allowed to kind of wrinkle underneath one guy, and then you've got to get vertical. You don't want to run into his territory.
8 tackles already today. Second down 11. They lost a yard. They moved the tight end close to the right side. The pass is in the air and incomplete. Off the shoulder pads of Mark Mays as he turned. The ball got there just as he turned. Henderson was there defensively. It goes incomplete. Third down, long yardage.
Well, there's the inexperience. Even though Mark Mays is a senior, his playing time has been somewhat limited because of knee problems throughout his career. David Brown saw the pressure coming, checked off at the line of scrimmage, had the little turnout route to Mark Mays. He was just slow turning his head, and that's why he was not able to make the catch.
Brown has completed 12 to 6 different receivers. This is third down, long yardage. Brown has time out of the shotgun, all kinds of time. Now directing traffic and running out of time. He'll throw it downfield, incomplete. A couple of receivers in the area. Mark Mays in front of Brad Breedlove, and neither could come up with the ball. Fourth down. The Blue Devils will have to kick.
This is again inexperience. When a quarterback scrambles, either as a receiver you have to turn and run, or you have to work back to him. And what had happened for both those guys, Breedlove and Mays, they just sort of danced around in the same spot and never gave Dave Brown a good target.
Gardner's averaged just over 33 per kick today. This is his third punt of the afternoon. He's kicking to Davis and O'Neal. Ball fielded at the 23-yard line by Davis. Bang down as he gets to the 26. A 35-yard kick, a 5-yard return.
Let's go back to the third down play for Duke again as we isolate on the 2 wide receivers. See Walter Jones running inside and Brad Breedlove to the outside. Now they're in trouble. But see Brad Breedlove, he's not really making up his mind anywhere. He's not really threatening Dexter Davis at all. He just sort of stayed in the same spot. Same with Mark Mays, who was underneath him. You have to make a definite decision. Either you take off to the end zone or you run back hard towards the quarterback to the first down mark. He didn't do either, and that's why they lost possession.
Some changes. A new quarterback is Moncrief is on to run the offense. Richard Moncrief. And that is the carry by Derek Witherspoon, number 31. Tony Kennedy is the fullback, and Richard Moncrief, a redshirt freshman, is the quarterback.
Left-hander, young man out of Montgomery, Alabama. Tigers haven't had a left-handed quarterback since a guy by the name of Epley played football and basketball. Mike now one of the radio broadcasters for the Tigers.
His job last year, Moncrief's, to imitate Major Harris on the scout team. Option play, the pit back. Witherspoon near the 45. He's got a first down. Erwin Sampson made the tackle, but Witherspoon, who had that great game a week ago, picks up 12 here.
Well, the key to a good option pitch is to wait until the last possible moment. I can see why they had Richard Moncrief imitate Major Harris. He hung on to that ball for a long time before he pitched it to Witherspoon, and he had lots of green space around him.
Helped his team get set for the victory, 27-7 over the Mountaineers of West Virginia in the Gator Bowl last year. Duke's bowl trip, not so successful. They lost to Texas Tech in the All-American Bowl. First and 10 at the 45. Second possession of the second half. Moncrief at midfield into Duke territory. Near the 48-yard line, Greg McConnell made the tackle, but Moncrief coming out very active, moving his ball club quickly into Duke territory.
Well, again, you have the same situation that befell the Duke defense last week. The offense has moved the ball but has not been able to score. The defense ends up playing increasing amounts of time out onto the field. And they start to just wear down emotionally more than physically.
Spector to the right, Smith to the left, the wide receivers out of the eye on 2nd and 3. Witherspoon the tailback, and Kennedy is the fullback, and tripped up right at the line of scrimmage. The big leg of Anderson was able to trip up the quarterback, and down he goes.
Well, one of the other factors that has hurt Duke thus far in this season with their 1-2 march, John, they have forced only 1 turnover on the season in 3.5 games against the opposition. You've got to at least pick up your offense once in a while by getting the ball back for it.
3rd down and 4. 3 wide receivers, and the jumping is Eric Harmon on that right side. Certainly you look up and down the line for Coach Ken Hatfield offensively. There's a lot of experience, a lot of veterans there, and they've made a couple of mistakes today in key spots.
3rd time this afternoon that in a 3rd down situation and medium or short yardage that the Tigers have committed the procedure penalty.
Ball will be pushed back near the 46 in Clemson territory as Stacy Fields, the tight end, receives some instructions as he heads back onto the field.
He may be telling them, make sure you get open, because that's where we're going. And we're going down to Mike Hogwood.
Well, guys, the story where reason Deshaun Cameron's not in there, he has some equipment problems. These quarterbacks wear a lot of stuff, rib protectors and all that kind of thing. Well, some of it came loose on the last drive. He's been getting it repaired, and the coaches thought, well, it's a good time to give Richard Moncrief some playing time.
Richard has responded so far. The left-handed pass is up, and it's caught inside the 45. Terry Smith makes the grab right in front of Keith Dubose. It's an 11-yard pickup and another 1st down for the Tigers.
Well, if you're a hometown Clemson fan, you're used to cheering for Terry Smith. He played his high school football right here in Clemson at Daniel High School. There haven't been too many Daniel High School graduates that have worn the orange of the Tigers in the last decade, but I think Terry Smith is going to change the philosophy here in Clemson a little bit in terms of throwing the football. He does a nice job.
He is only the 2nd Clemson native to play for the Tigers in the last 10 years, as Jack mentioned. Straight ahead running to the 40 for about 4 is Derek Witherspoon. Jeff Smith made the tackle, but Witherspoon has that almost stand-up style of running the ball as he turned the corner a bit.
Well, talking with Rick Stockstill, the quarterbacks coach for the Tigers, he said there's a real difference between the 2 running backs. He says Witherspoon is a slasher, whereas Ronald Williams is much more of that north-south kind of guy. You'll get a little bit of a different look from each one of them.
West Virginia, as you see, with a lead over Pitt. There's a big hole inside the 30, a 1st down out of the fullback spot for Kennedy. And again, Erwin Sampson has to come up and make the tackle out of the secondary for the Blue Devils.
Well, there was a lot of expectations for Tony Kennedy coming out of spring ball. He was the most veteran of the running backs returning for the Tigers, but did not have a good preseason camp and found himself down on the depth chart a little bit, but he has picked up the intensity the last couple of weeks in practice and now getting more playing time. There was a feeling that he came back not in as good a shape as he should have been. A bit overweight. 1st and 10 at the 28-yard line. For about 2. Allen coming up to make the tackle. Not much yardage there at all for Ronald Williams. This, I think, is pretty typical of Clemson because the clock is running, about 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. They're content to work it deep into the opponent's territory. Get 6 if they can, and pretty confident they're going to get 3. Fullback with it. Inside the 25, near the 22. It's Allen to stop Kennedy again. Tony, who made 1 start last year and had a big game in the Gator Bowl. He picked up 57 yards against West Virginia. Ball is near the 21-yard line. 3rd down and about 3 coming up.
for the Tigers of Clemson. Let the clock run. Huddle clock is down to 10 now. Game clock at 2:20. Time remaining third quarter, and it's 17-0 Clemson. Option play. Moncrief to the 19. A gain of 2 more. Again, Mark Allen, out of his linebacker spot, made the hit for Duke.
It'll be a little less than a yard and a half to get the first down. And with a guy like Gardocki, well, actually, I think they're even going to try. Well, they've got Jimmy McLeese out there, and now Gardocki joins the group, so they will
McLeese to
try
hold.
another field goal.
It'll be a 37-yard field goal attempt.
Give McLeese the hold.
McLeese is the holder, and Scott Bevel is the snapper. 37-yard attempt is up. And into the sea of orange, as he has done so often. The field goal is good, and Clemson has added to its lead. We're going to pause now for a word from your local stations. 20-0. Clemson has the lead. A timeout here for your local ACC stations. Clemson has had the ball twice in the third quarter. They have scored twice, a touchdown, and now Chris Gardocki's second field goal of the game.
Speaking of that field goal, watch the form of Chris Gardocki. That's why he is so well regarded. Look how quiet his upper body is. He drops that head and keeps it right on his target. He's not worried about where the goalposts are. He is worried about hitting that spot with his kick. That's just perfect form.
The kick was true. It is 20-0. Jones at the 2. 10-15. Starts right to the 20. Some room down the far sideline. Has to change his pace up just a bit, and the defense catches up with him near the 43. Let's go down to the sideline and Mike Hogwood. Mike?
Well, guys, we're on Armed Forces Television today, and Susan Jordan's here with her son, Michael, and they would like to say hi to their dad, who has been for months stationed in the Air Force in the Philippines. He's a captain. His name is Louis Jordan, and your son's growing and looking pretty healthy and just fine, and we're happy we're able to pass that along to you today, and they're going to say hi to their dad in the Philippines serving our country.
Another Tiger fan. A 41-yard return to the 43 for the Blue Devils of Duke. Brown runs away from the pressure. Pump fake. Grabbed from behind after a gain of 5 by David Davis. So he picks up 5 on first down.
And that's what he's going to have to do, as I said earlier. If he doesn't see something early and doesn't feel like it's going to break open, he has to move around and, as a last resort, pick up positive yardage on the ground if he has to. I mean, they are still within 3 scores. They haven't scored in nearly 7 quarters, but they are not out of this ball game if they can score quickly.
Breedlove to the left. This is Jones in motion. Cuthbert has moved into the slot on the left side, and the football is dropped. Clemson just might have this one.
Probably the toughest spot in football is the bottom of a pile fighting for the football. David Davis was down there. So was Stuart Albright and Dave Brown, and somehow,
well, even though the last 2 to get up were in orange uniforms, Duke will keep the football.
it was actually Mike Brown who was in the ball game. No, it wasn't. It was Steve Aldifer who was in the ball game, the center, who somehow, you can see David Davis had a shot at that ball, but it was either Aldifer, I think it was Bobby Highsmith, number 67, who finally came up with the football.
Third down and 5 for Duke. They got the ball back, but wasted a play. Walter Jones in motion. Brown sets in the pocket, feels the pressure. Midfield, he's got a first down as he slides to the 45-yard line. John Johnson finished him off there, but Brown able to pick up the first down as the third quarter comes to an end. A quarter dominated by Clemson. They had the ball twice. They scored twice. The lead is 20-0. Clemson over Duke. The final 15 from Death Valley coming up in just a minute. 20-0 as we get set to begin the fourth quarter here in Clemson, South Carolina. The Tigers have the lead. First quarter was scoreless, and there are the third quarter numbers.
You can see Duke with just 34 yards of offense in the third period. They just didn't have the football very much, and they moved it into Clemson territory, but then couldn't finish it off again.
First and 10 at the 46 of Clemson as we begin the fourth quarter here in Death Valley. Little play action this time for Brown. Shovels it forward for a gain of almost 10.
Boy, how about that for improvisation?
Cuthbert was there to make the catch, and it's very close to a first down.
Dave Brown, feeling the heat from John Johnson to his right, steps up and says, nice catch, Randy Cuthbert.
But they're going to move the ball back. Not sure whether they said he was across the line of scrimmage.
We got no indication. Yep, we just heard they said he was over the line of scrimmage.
We have an illegal forward pass beyond the line of scrimmage. That's a 5-yard penalty and loss of down. Second down.
It'll be second down and 15. And you saw Brown arguing he might have a case, Jack. I think it was very close.
Well, it's been that kind of fortnight, if you will, for the Duke Blue Devils. The last 2 weeks have been very tough.
Into the shotgun on second down 15. It's a loss of down. That'll be a holding call. Davis trips him up, number 97. The pressure came from Johnson. And you saw Johnson being pulled down, and that will be the holding call, I'm sure.
Well, that was right out in view of everybody. Chip Natowski just had the speed of Johnson force the penalty. Let me tell you what, you had David Davis up around the face mask of David Brown.
Almost became an offsetting penalty situation.
As Brown ducked, David Davis was very close to grabbing the headgear of Dave Brown.
The ball is back at the 40, and it'll be 3rd and 24.
Watch from ground level again as you see the holding penalty right in front of you. Now watch David Davis. Whoa, boy. Problem was Dale Phillips didn't have another flag to throw.
And there is movement by Al Hageman on the left side, and I think the crowd noise and some frustration offensively beginning to show on the Blue Devils.
Three straight penalties against the Blue Devils, although the holding penalty was not accepted because of the sack.
In any event, they're going the wrong direction. The drive began at the 46 of Clemson, or at least this series did, and they have backed up to their own 45-yard line. Brown tries to get it back, far sideline. Ball is in the air and incomplete.
Boy, Mark Mays had a hand on that football, but couldn't bring it down under pressure from Eric Jeter. The scoreless string at home continues into the fourth period this week. What happened? Mark Mays mistimed his jump. He jumps too soon and actually is reaching for the ball coming down, and Eric Jeter underneath him was able to disrupt him and break up the play.
Fourth punt of the afternoon for Gardner. Slicing to the 24-yard line. And a return of almost 10 on the play. Kurt Ligos made the tackle, and we are going to take a break right here. 13:37 remaining in the football game, and we will be back after this. 20-0 is the score. Time remaining in the game, 13:37. Clemson scoring on both of its third quarter possessions. Will send Smith to the left, Ryans to the right. Kennedy is the fullback, Williams is the tailback. Reverse. The reverse winds up in Ryan's hand. He's got room at midfield. 40-yard line, 35, and down he goes near the 32-yard line. He's banged out of bounds by Keith Dubose. A 35-yard pickup on the reverse for Larry Ryans, a sophomore from Greenwood, South Carolina.
Well, you could see from up high this play developing, but you could see the Duke defense overrunning, reacting to the sweep that has been so effective. Good blocking out in front of Ryans, and now it becomes the foot race. Keith Dubose with the angle to save the touchdown.
The ball is at the 32-yard line. A blow for Ryans after the big pickup. Kennedy, 25, head down as he moves just inside the 25-yard line. Travis Pearson, number 80, made the tackle. I'm not sure whether Deshaun Cameron is continuing to have equipment problems, Jack, or they just like what they've seen from Moncrief. Look at this. William and Mary coming back at Virginia.
The defense must have taken the day off. And how about that score? Army unbeaten, but Wake Forest with a big advantage. And in the battle of field goals, NC State has the edge.
The gain of 7 on the plane. It'll be on the play. It'll be second down and 3. Nothing there at all for Tony Kennedy. He is straightened up by Scott Burdan. Burton making the hit on him as he just gets to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. It'll be third down and about 3.
There's Deshaun Cameron, excuse me, and it looks like he is fine. So it's just an opportunity with a 20-point advantage, and the fact that he had another good drive to give Richard Moncrief some on-the-job training.
Moncrief looking at third down and 3. Smith in motion. Some hard hitting at the 20-yard line as Witherspoon is straightened up by Darrell Spells, but it would appear that Witherspoon has another Clemson first down.
You get big Eric Harmon there at the point of attack as well. The all-ACC guard for the Tigers, number 76, 285 pounds at least, and Darrell Spells trying to make sure that that left shoulder still operates after all that contact.
Well, it's got to be sore with all the hits he's made in the ball game. Diving down inside the 15 near the 12-yard line. First man through, the fullback Kennedy. I'm going to try to catch his breath. He's tripped up by Greg McConnell. Let's go down to the field. Here's Mike Hogwood.
You guys were talking about Richard Moncrief just a moment ago and why he is still in the game. Well, he came in and played that series for Deshaun Cameron, and he's done so well they decided to leave him in there and get him some game experience, and he's certainly getting it and performing well on the field now.
A second down play coming up for the Tigers. Witherspoon the tailback, Kennedy in front of him. Kennedy has the ball. On his feet at the 5. Down he goes near the 2-yard line. Quentin McCracken made the tackle. Will give him 11 yards on the play, and it sets up first down and goal for the Tigers of Clemson.
Now this is the relentless Clemson offense that ACC teams have seen for a long time now here in Death Valley. Get that good offensive line. That's the crucial aspect. With the strength they have had, the people like John Phillips and Hank Phillips through the years, and now Harmon and Long and Bratton, people like that.
Kennedy stopped at the line of scrimmage. No gain. Scott Burton made the hit on him. It'll be second and goal. This is the 8th play of the drive coming up. The biggest play was that 33-yard reverse by Ryans.
You see their rushing total for the game. They're coming off the big rushing day last week against Appalachian State, and after a slow first half in terms of running ability, Kenny Hatfield has had the infantry in high gear, been more like the armored infantry in the second half.
No passes on this drive, which began at the 35. Rudy Harris will be about a yard short of another Clemson touchdown. It is 20-0. We're approaching and moving inside the 10-minute mark. Time remaining in the game now.
Clemson with better than 250 yards, or better than 150 yards, excuse me, on the ground in just a little over a quarter. As you can see, there is still more than 9.5 minutes to play here in the 4th period.
The fullback. Witherspoon diving. Fumble. Duke has it. Keith Dubose made the recovery at the 5-yard line. Dubose makes the recovery, and Duke is able to stop the Tigers and get the football back.
That is the second turnover of the year forced by the Duke defense. Their first fumble recovery of the year. The hit underneath was by Scott Burdan, popped the ball loose, and Keith DeBose came away with it. And now an official timeout. Clemson in control. Duke hoping for some final minutes magic here in Death Valley. It's appropriate on this day in which we are broadcasting on the Armed Forces Network that Scott Burdan, number 58 right there, forces the fumble. His brother David was an honorable mention All-American a couple of years ago playing at West Point. And who knows, David may even be watching somewhere on the Armed Forces Network this afternoon.
Well, Burdan helping his team get the football back, but they are 95 yards away from ending their scoring drought. 20-0. Clemson has the lead. Marcus Dyer out beyond the 15, finally brought down by Robert O'Neill, but a 12-yard pickup, a first down, and it gets the Duke Blue Devils away from their own goal line.
I tell you what, Marcus Dyer was so surprised that he came through the line so cleanly. It's almost like he's moving in slow motion. It's, oh, I'm open, I can run, and then he is finally run down on the play by Robert O'Neill.
We're inside 9 minutes remaining. This is Dyer again, and he is hit immediately by McLaughlin.
Chester McLaughlin, at least 320 pounds, and he comes up a little gimpy. He was all over Dyer. Watch the right side of your screen as McLaughlin closes down on the play. Boom. See you later. Chuck O'Brien, an inside linebacker, helped out on the play as well.
Second down and 9. Duke goes to the eye. Pass caught on the far side of the field by Breedlove. Arlington Nunn right there with him as he moves it outside the 20. Gain of about 5 on the play, and Duke trying to hurry as best they can. Counting down now to 8 minutes left in the game. 20-0. Clemson leads.
Brad Breedlove, I don't know how many times he turns into the contact instead of away from it.
The shotgun. Breedlove makes the catch just short of the 30. O'Brien dropped him there, but it is a first down for the Blue Devils.
Well, Brad Breedlove just trying to get beyond the markers, find an open space, and pick up the first down. Unfortunately for Duke, they can't afford to keep nickel and diming their way up the field. The clock a factor, under 7:45 to play.
Not down 20-0. Dave Brown steps up, still stepping up. Now he'll run. 35, first down as he steps out across the 40. He'll be spotted near the 42-yard line. A 14-yard pickup. We've seen a lot of that from Brown, but I think you're right, Jack. At this point in the game, 7.5 minutes to go. That's not going to help you much.
But he still did the right thing there. It was the only thing to do. He was able to move the chains and also stop the clock, and that was a big factor. You start getting into the point of the game here where you think about not only making positive plays, but plays in which you can stop the clock as well. That means you work to the sidelines.
First and 10 for the Duke Blue Devils. Mays moves to the right side. He's there along with Dorsey. Walter Jones is split left. Here comes the pressure from Johnson. The pass is picked off. Clemson has it. This is Simmons who makes the interception in a crowd.
Well, they had the screenplay called. John Johnson came in all alone, and Dave Brown had to throw it faster than he wanted to, and Wayne Simmons was sitting right in the midst of the screen, and he picks it off. Look at John Johnson from the right side, untouched, and they just have no chance to set the screen at all, and the ball banged around, and it ended up going into the hands of Wayne Simmons. Watch John Johnson, number 12, right there. He comes in untouched. He's trying to find Leroy Goldman, the screen pass target, but there were too many orange shirts around. Duke turns the ball over again. Clemson working on another shutout. Let's pause for this word from your local stations.
Ball is spotted at the 26-yard line. Back at quarterback is Deshaun Cameron. Hands to his fullback Harris, who takes it inside the 25, inside the 35 to near the 34. The original line of scrimmage was the 36.
Lined up in two tight ends that time. That was just straight ahead smash mouth football, as some people like to describe that. Now they put the wide receivers back into the football game, and they'll actually go with a 3-receiver set this time. No tight ends in the game.
Second down 7 after that gain of 3. Here's Cameron setting, waiting, firing deep, and he overthrows a wide open Terry Smith. Terry had broken open and the ball was too tall, overthrown.
If Deshaun Cameron gets some consistency with his long passing game, it is really going to make this Clemson offense difficult. Because once you've shown success on going deep, you will force the defense to stretch out a little bit, and they won't be able to provide as much run support. But you still see the Duke defense not respecting the deep pass because Deshaun has not been able to complete it.
Robin Eves, number 31, is checked into the lineup.
3rd and 7 for the Tigers.
Second is Derek Witherspoon, who's in there. Instead, it's Cameron setting. He's got pressure this time, and his pass is picked off. Intercepted by DeBose. Earlier, he had a fumble recovery. He comes up with another turnover. The turnovers are even at 2 apiece, and Duke gets it back just outside their own 20-yard line.
That's the first interception that Deshaun Cameron has thrown this year. He was getting a lot of heat from Tom Corpus, who was blitzing on the play. Watch number 91 at the top of your screen step around the block and put the pressure on Cameron. His pass is short. Keith DeBose with his second turnover of the afternoon.
The sophomore comes up with the interception. DeBose, of course, seeing a lot of playing time because of the injury that we've had to Wyatt Smith. Smith, who tried so hard to go last week against Virginia, came out for the warm-ups today and couldn't do it. The pass is caught at the 26. Mays falls down near the 28-yard line. The hit made by Brewster. 89 attempts before Deshaun Cameron was intercepted. That's consistency you like to see from your quarterback.
The Duke in a situation, they just want to get this shutout string stopped.
2nd and 3.
Shutout last week, being shut out here. If it's a catch, it's a turnover to Clemson. It is an incomplete pass.
Took a long time. They all kind of went around the circuit and said, well, what do you think? Decided it was not a catch.
Walter Jones, the intended receiver, and he took quite a belt.
Running that crossing pattern in which he has caught several balls this afternoon. Brown looking off one way, and he did not have both feet down again when Robert O'Neill put the helmet on him. And the incomplete was probably a good call.
It'll be 3rd down and 3. Again out of the shotgun. Pass is batted in the air and falls incomplete. Cuthbert, the intended receiver. It will be 4th down coming up.
When you're in a place like Death Valley with it so loud, you're forced to go with a silent count many times. And throughout the afternoon, you may have noticed Dave Brown, when he has been in the shotgun formation, raise his right leg. Was try and isolate on that. Watch it right here. What? Well, that's the end of it. We missed what he does. He lifts that leg to tell the center he is ready to receive the snap, and then either Steve Aldifer or Stuart Albright snap the ball when they're ready. That's how you avoid the noise problem with the silent snap count.
Davis at his own 35. A return of about 6 on the play following a 37-yard punt. A tackle made by Tom Rhodes.
We'll try it one more time here. Now watch David Brown right here. See when he's doing that? He's not got a cramp in his leg or something. That's the signal he gives to the center to tell him that he is ready to receive the ball in the shotgun without having to bark out signals. But the frustrations continue for that young man.
Especially for him because of all the success he had in putting numbers and yardage on the board at the end of last year when he had his chance to pick up some starts. Came off the bench against Northwestern, was able to engineer some scoring, bring the Blue Devils back in that ball game. Not so far today. Cameron keeps it and runs outside, moving out of bounds near the 43-yard line. Again, it was DeBose who's done a good job this afternoon forcing him out.
Well, it's been a good day for the most part for Deshaun Cameron. To go back to Dave Brown again, John, I think you could see, particularly on that 3rd down incompletion, how he is pressing now. He had the 1st down opportunity with Randy Cuthbert. Randy was about 10 yards away from him, and I mean, he threw a BB to Cuthbert and banged off his shoulder pads. They were lucky it was not a deflection into an interception.
Very short gain on the play. Time remaining 5:33 here in the fourth quarter. It was 10-0 at halftime. Clemson scoring on its first 2 possessions in the third quarter to make it 20-0. That's where it stands right now. On the pitch, it's Williams. 50, 45, and 40. Down he goes near the 32-yard line. He comes down inbounds. Big gainer on the option. Sampson and McCracken teamed up to bring him down, but it is a pickup of 20.
One of the things that Clemson has always done exceedingly well, they have gotten great downfield blocking support from their wide receivers. Watch the left side of your screen right there. Larry Ryans, or make it Terry Smith, who came up with the big block there that enabled Ron Williams to gain the extra yardage.
After the 26-yard pickup, backing his way down to the 25 is Rudy Harris. A gain of 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4. We are delighted you could join us today. And next week, a very interesting matchup will take place at College Park. Georgia Tech and Maryland. I think that's going to be a most interesting game, Jack.
Well, they have got a couple of pretty fair quarterbacks going in that one. Sean Jones and Scott Zolak. I'm looking forward to it.
2nd down 4. Ball at the 25. Here's the option. Williams with it. 20. Tripped up and staggers out of bounds at the 11-yard line. Again, Keith Dubose got enough of him to force him out of bounds.
And this time it was Larry Ryans who had the outside block. Boy, I remember a couple of years ago, Chip Davis was a guy who blocked so well for the Tigers out on the flank, the perimeter. You know, I'm an old wide receiver, and we didn't like contact a whole lot, John. You know, that's one of the less pleasing aspects of the job of being a receiver, that stalk block downfield, because you have to stay with the guy so long, maintain your footwork, and try and just keep screening the guy. The Clemson kids do it very, very well.
Just outside the 11, it's 1st down. Here's Williams again. Head down. He's got about 5 yards on the play, moving near the 6. And don't you know, the defense for Clemson is loving this. What they'd like him to do is take about 4 minutes and 15 seconds in the last 5 yards here.
Well, I don't think you can well, you could, because they can still get a 1st down. I mean, they could come close to grinding out the rest of the time. And Robert O'Neill and Jerome Henderson and the rest say, well, I'll sit down here by the fan, catch a little breeze, enjoy the things that are going on, and look forward to another week.
At home, they've won 59-0. They've won 48-0, and they lead 20-0. 2nd down and 5. Ball at the 6-yard line. Here's Williams. Down near the 1.
That'll be a 1st down.
Dubose made the tackle.
The Tigers looking forward next week to a game that has always been a big one on their schedule. The Georgia Bulldogs will come up here to Death Valley next week, and
Duke will continue its road trip.
That's right. It's been tough.
Army. Of course, the way it went at home last week, I guess it's just as well they stay on the road. The problem is the Blue Devils haven't been able to score any points. Getting shut out 59-0 at home by Virginia a week ago, losing 20-0 here this afternoon. 3:15 to go in this one. 1st and goal at the 1. We've got 2 tight ends in the ball game. Out of the wishbone. Williams loses a yard. McCracken makes the tackle for the Blue Devils.
Well, he's the most valuable player of their baseball team. He is a guy that will play hard, whether it is a tight ball game or, for the 2nd straight week, a game in which it has not gone the way of the Blue Devils. Look at the effort here against Williams. He just refused to let Williams beat him. And he is not a very big young man, but Quentin McCracken, I tell you what, I'd line up for that guy on my team anytime.
2nd down, goal from the 3. Less than 2.5 minutes remaining. Camlin will not get in. He's down at the line of scrimmage. This time, Dwayne Marks.
I'll tell you what, they're coming close to accomplishing what you talked about, John. Clock moving down to just about 2 minutes to go in the game, but it's been more the Duke defense coming up with 2 big plays. First McCracken, and then Dwayne Marks. He was shedding the block. Somebody reached out, looked like they grabbed a piece of his face mask, but it didn't bother Dwayne. He just kept on coming. Young man out of Missouri City, Texas.
Less than 2 minutes to go. Ball is still at the 3-yard line. Option play. Cameron's pass. Touchdown. Rudy Harris into the end zone. Second touchdown pass of the game for Deshaun Cameron.
Well, this is what I talked about early in the ball game for Duke. When you have trouble grinding it in between the tackles, you want to go out onto the flank and have a run-pass option. See Eric Harmon out there to protect for Cameron. Do I run it? Do I pass it? Do I pitch it? He finally passes it to Rudy Harris for the score.
For Harris, his first catch in the game. Mishandled the snap on the extra point.
Tell you what, they blew that whistle a little quick because
yeah, they did.
Because you can run that mishandled situation on an extra point for 2 points, but I don't think they would have gotten there anyway.
McLee's not able to handle the snap cleanly. The extra point will not be added on.
Well, Gardocki has never missed an extra point, and this won't count against him because Jimmy McLeese just couldn't handle it.
Well, Chris took off like he was going to run out for a pass. Either that or he was getting the heck out of there, one of the two.
Well, probably both.
We have 1:44 to go. The Tigers lead at 26-0. We'll be back after this.
Fourth quarter score, Boston College
26-0 with 1:44 seconds left. Gardocki will not kick off. Instead, Eric Phillips will handle that. Barefoot kicker.
I've never understood that.
Fielded by the up man at the 23-yard line. And Duke has a chance as they go down the far sideline at the 40, the 30. On his way is Leroy Gallman. And he is in. What a way for the shutout string to end if you're Clemson.
Well, I tell you what, Duke has had a chance several times this afternoon to crank off a kickoff return. Randy Jones has had a pretty good kickoff return, and Leroy Gallman goes 78 yards. The short kick by Eric Phillips, and they've been able to get to the sidelines. He breaks the tackle there, and then is off and running. Arlington Nunn missed the tackle, and then he is able to outrace Robert O'Neill to the end zone. O'Neill grabs him, but not before he crosses the goal line. That also ends a string of nearly 8 quarters without scoring for Duke.
The first points that Clemson has allowed at home this year, and it comes on a 78-yard kickoff return. See what happens when you change kickers?
Well, I've never understood barefoot kickers anyway, although you could probably do it a little better here with the warm weather, but they go with the young man, let him have an opportunity. And Kenny Hatfield, who is so thorough in his preparation, and his staff, those good coaches, they really get upset when they give up points on special teams. Leroy Gallman with the touchdown, with the 78-yard touchdown return. And you know Duke is going to onside this kickoff as well. Why not? Broke the tackle there of Arlington Nunn. And then it was just the foot race up the sidelines. Look at Robert O'Neill close ground. But Gallman wasn't going to be denied. Leroy Gallman getting the touchdown, the sophomore out of Westfield, New Jersey, the same hometown as Dave Brown. That takes a big monkey off the back of the Duke Blue Devils. They finally get some points on the board since they rallied late in the game at Northwestern to beat the Wildcats.
But it had been a long dry spell, being shut out a week ago at home by Virginia, and going deep into the game today before Gallman turned it around 78 yards on the kickoff return.
Well, this is not the first time that Duke has done this to Clemson. In fact, the last time Duke played here at Death Valley, they also ran a kickoff back for a score. Quentin McCracken did it against the Tigers, and you can see Duke set up with 8 men up top of your screen as Randy Gardner gets set for the onside try.
Clemson has it. The ball did go the 10 yards, but it kind of hugged the ground, and Richard Moncrief, the #2 quarterback, was able to go down and make a play on it.
Well, that group, the guys who try and handle the onside kick, they're called the good hands folks, and I think you'd want to have a quarterback there if he's a good athlete physically to try and handle that, and he does a nice job. And we're going to get Jimmy McLeese, the third-team quarterback, with an opportunity to play.
Jim McLeese, the quarterback for the Tigers.
Not a happy sideline for Duke offensively. You see Brown coming up. Yes, his team has scored, but it was not the offense that did it. Clemson trying to run out the final 1 minute and 21 seconds, leading 26-7 here this afternoon. Leading 10-0 at halftime, and 2 quick scores on their only 2 possessions in the third quarter kind of put this one out of reach because Duke just simply didn't do enough to get back in the football game. The Clemson defense, as it has been all year, was very, very tough.
Duke has 3 timeouts left, but to this point, Barry Wilson is not making any efforts to shut down the clock. Boy, Paul Caputo, who is a walk-on, just said, hey, I'm going to get the first down, and pushed his way forward and did pick it up for the Tigers, I believe.
Down to the 35-yard line. We're going to measure just to make sure.
Yeah, what's up in the rock?
35 seconds left in the football game. Quite a few changes along that offensive line for the Tigers of Clemson.
Mentioned Clemson next week will host the Georgia Bulldogs here in Death Valley, while the Duke Blue Devils will try and get on the winning ways again up on the Hudson River against the Black Knights of West Point.
It is a first down. Ball at the 35-yard line. And the clock is restarted following the measurement.
First and 10, Tigers at the 35.
Lawrence and Caputo. That's the fullback, Paul Caputo, and he's tackled by Waffle and Marks for Duke.
Caputo the carry.
Chris Gardocki with a couple of field goals today, one of 51, one of 37 yards.
Hey, Mom. What's up, Hamlet?
They are getting set to head to the locker room here at Memorial Stadium, where 81,500 enjoyed homecoming 1990 because Clemson has won its 4th game of the season. Duke's record for head coach Barry Wilson will drop now to 1-3, 0-2 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. 26-7 is the final score. There is the winning coach, Ken Hatfield. And the homecoming crowd begins its celebration here in Clemson, South Carolina. 26-7 is the final. Coach Hatfield is heading in the direction of our Mike Hogwood, and let's go to Mike right now.
Well, there are a lot of happy and somewhat crazy Clemson fans behind you, Coach. Got to feel good about the win today. Homecoming victory.
We feel good about the win, but we owe Duke. Duke played well. I was glad that our kids fought hard. I can't talk in this.
This is incredible, guys. We'll send you back upstairs. These people are crazy down here.
All right, Mike.
That was harder than running down the hill for Mike, no doubt about it.
I think it was. Coach Hatfield knew it. 26-7 is the final. We've got a lot more to come from Memorial Stadium. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
ACC football has been brought to you by the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. For insurance and financial services, better call JP. By Schlitz Malt Liquor. No one does it like the Bull. By the airline of ACC country, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by MCI's Prime Time Plan. Real savings 24 hours a day.
We are back live at Clemson, Death Valley, where the Tigers have just beaten Duke by a score of 26-7. And a couple of happy Tigers here. Let's start with a couple of guys on defense. John Johnson, we talked yesterday about the linebacker play here, and the linebackers really did come through today and play well.
Yes, sir. We worked all week on trying to put pressure on the quarterback. And today, I think LeVon and I and the rest of the defensive guys did a great job putting pressure on the quarterback, having to throw the ball early, having to step up in the pocket when there was no one there, but he's thinking about us the whole time.
Duke moved the football on you early in the first quarter. Did you have to make some adjustments in this ball game to slow down the Duke attack?
Yeah, well, we knew they have a couple things that they hadn't shown us on film, and they did it on the first drive and were fortunate enough to get down the field. But Dexter did a great job over in the corner end zone, getting the interception, and we were able to get on the sideline, regroup, go over the stuff that we haven't seen, and we're able to settle down.
That interception early in the first quarter when you kept Duke off the scoreboard after they were down there, they had 1st and goal at one point. That seemed to be a real turning point in the game, especially for the Clemson defense. Really got you guys momentum-wise fired up.
Yeah, we really didn't want them to get any point, but once they got down that far, we realized that, you know, they probably would, and all we want them to do was get a field goal, no touchdown.
All right, well, John, congratulations. What does this do for the team now heading next week against Georgia?
Well, right now we're not really concentrating on the Georgia game. Duke was a big game. It was an ACC game now. First offensive team goal was to win the ACC championship, and this right here is another stepping stone towards that.
Okay, one more player who's standing right here just a moment, Levon Kirkland. Levon, great game, and you got a happy smile on your face today, and for good reason. You played well.
Oh, yeah, you know, they say revenge is sweet and everything, so and we had 80,000 people out here homecoming, a lot of people coming back, so we wanted to win the game, and that's what we did. We won the game.
Well, congratulations. What does this do for the team now? Another conference win. You guys are a step closer towards being really in this conference picture as we head on down the season.
You're right about that. That's our goal. We're waiting for Virginia to lose a game. We're going to keep trying to win all our games, keep winning the ACC, trying to win the ACC championship, and keep rolling on.
We got a couple of offensive players standing by. Congratulations, Levon. Let's go back upstairs to Jack and John for a moment. We'll be back down here in just a few minutes.
My thanks very much to Mike Hogwood. Certainly, you could tell by the tone of those interviews that this was very important after what happened last year, knowing they had a loss already this year. They had to get even with Duke, and they did.
Well, when we talked to Ken Hatfield yesterday, and you could hear Levon Kirkland emphasize it in his answer as well, John, very few times in the past decade has the ACC champion gone undefeated in conference play. And while certainly Clemson, with the early season loss to Virginia, put itself in the hole, if they keep winning, they still have a chance to gain a share of the conference title, perhaps, should Virginia falter, or if Virginia or somebody else falters more than once, claim another sole championship. So it was important for them in their first home conference game to come away with an impressive victory, and they did do that.
And I think there's probably a tendency, and it was probably felt down here, the reaction to the loss at Virginia was probably devastating because you're used to winning almost every football game. All of a sudden, right out of the box, you've got a loss, and it's tougher for the fans to rebound, maybe tougher than it is the team.
And I think the way they played early in the ball game when Duke was moving the ball had the fans a little bit worried, but as John and Levon talked about, the big interception in the end zone for Dexter Davis worked both ways. It got Clemson going, and it also made Duke think again, boy, we're doing more of the same kind of thing. And then it was up to Clemson to get points on the board themselves, and that becomes our option play of the game, because I viewed it as the key play of the ball game. So we're going to take a look now at our option play of the game. The option play is brought to you by Option Gray Coverage for Men, the advanced way to get rid of the gray. Early in the second quarter, it is still a scoreless ball game. Deshaun Cameron, with good patience, waits for Terry Smith to split the seam of the zone, catch the 20-yard touchdown pass, the only score that Clemson really needed to get it going until the late kickoff return for the score by Duke.
And it was a great game for Deshaun Cameron. The offense did what they had to do. They put the points on the board. Let's go back down to the field with Deshaun Cameron. Here's Mike Hogwood. Mike?
With Deshaun Cameron and Ronald Williams. First, let's start with Deshaun. Deshaun, good game, but I think everybody wants to know you came out of the game. We reported on the sidelines equipment problems caused you to come out. What happened down there?
Well, I know we was inside the 10-yard line. You know, we kind of wanted to sneak it in, and they came with a goal line defense, and, you know, it was going to be kind of tough. I tried to string it out at first, but I saw an opening, and I just wanted to cut it up in there. And unfortunately, I ran in between, you know, defending the end, and they tried to grab me, and I just went right on through.
It looks like the offense still has a little ways to go to get totally consistent and where you want it to be here for Clemson this year.
Well, you know, we got a lot of kinks that we need to work out, but it's not as many as we had in the beginning of the season. You know, a lot of young guys are maturing, and we're going to be a very, you know, great offensive unit toward the end of the season. Just a matter of time. You know, that's what practice is for, and, you know, everybody's working hard in practice, and before you know it, we're going to be right back where we left off last season.
I know that you have not thrown the ball all that much this year, and then you hit Terry Smith on the big touchdown. That really had to make you feel good.
Yes, you know, my goals for this game was, you know, score 3 touchdowns and 250 yards, either way I could get them. And, you know, on that play, Coach called a play, you know, and it came in wrong, and I changed it in the huddle, and, you know, had to read the defense, and Terry came open across the middle, and I just laid it up. He ran up under.
What does this win now do? You got a couple of wins in a row, your big win here at home, and this win seems to me to give you a lot of momentum now in the conference to move on for the rest of the season.
Yes, each win we get is a confidence builder, you know, going into the next week. You know, the loss coming off the Virginia game, you know, kind of set us back a little bit. But like I said, you know, the team is young, and every time something happens good, you know, it just make the progress forward even better. So, you know, we still working hard, and I think we're going to be all right in the future.
What about this? Some of these freshman running backs you got back here, like this guy, number 25. They're really coming through for you, aren't they?
Yeah, you know, with the Ronald and Derek running the ball as good as they are right now, it makes my job a whole lot easier. You know, the running game is getting back to the way it used to be, and that'll open up different things for other people. And, you know, I'm just glad to have those guys back there doing a great job that they're doing, and I hope it keeps up.
All right. Well, the coach, congratulations to you, Deshaun. Let's talk a little bit to Ronald Williams. You know, Ronald, the coach said that he told you when you were recruited that if you worked hard, you'd have a chance to play as a freshman, and it's come true for you, and you really have to feel good about that.
Yes, so it feels great knowing that you can come in as a true freshman and play at any school. It's a great feeling.
Coach Hatfield says you've reported in great condition, and you reported ready to compete for that starting job. Now that you're in the lineup, what do you see as your next step? What do you have to do now to become one of those great Clemson backs?
Oh, keep constant 100-yard gains. I was unfortunate today I didn't get it, but traditional Clemson back usually they get 100-yard per game. So I'm striving for that point right now.
A couple of times you guys dotted down close, and the Duke defense really bowed up a lot. I know one time you came off the field really looked disappointed you didn't get it in the end zone.
Yes, sir, I was disappointed because anytime the offense is down that close, you're supposed to get it in. Then we failed. And I failed, really, not the team, because Rudy Harris scored on the next play.
Well, even though you're a freshman, I know you have to feel good, although this team is young, that it is gelling and coming together here at Clemson very quickly.
Yes, we have a lot of youth, but we're still only coming closer and closer together so we can become one unit.
All right. Well, that's two of the offensive stars today, Deshaun Cameron and Ronald Williams. Congratulations, guys. Thanks for staying out here and talking with us. We'll be back at Death Valley after these words from your local ACC station.
26-7 is the final score. Clemson a winner over Duke at home on homecoming 1990. And we welcome you back. We're going to talk about this game just a little bit. I'm a little disappointed with your option play of the game, though. I was kind of thinking that Mike Hogwood's race down the hill might win that this week.
Well, we started with a rather unique event with Mike Hogwood going down with the Clemson Tigers after touching Howard's Rock and going down the hill. It was a good afternoon on homecoming for Clemson, answering a lot of questions. I think one of the other questions they answered this afternoon, John, was what they were going to do with Rudy Harris. I think they were concerned. They certainly knew that Rudy Harris had the ability to run the football, but they wanted to see if he could handle the other elements of what a fullback has to do, mainly be the lead blocker in a lot of plays, be able to pin the corner so that they can run the option to the outside. I think he accomplished that in an improving way. And then as we saw running the football, he gives that extra dimension to that Clemson attack, much like Wesley McFadden used to do. When you have a threat running the ball as well as blocking out of that fullback spot, it makes Deshaun Cameron's job that much easier, as he talked about.
Well, let's follow up just briefly about some of the things that Cameron talked about, and one of them being the youth of this team and the building of this team. And as they go along, if they continue to improve, he's right. They're just going to get better and better because they're going to gain that experience.
They're the youngest group of skill players in nearly half a century for the Clemson Tigers. It's not quite as tough a situation for Kenny Hatfield for two reasons. One, he has got an experienced defense that is very good. They had shut out everybody at home until the last minute kickoff return by Leroy Gallman for Duke. And he's got Chris Gardocki. When you have such a weapon like Gardocki who can consistently give you that 45, 50, 55, sometimes even 66-yard punt, it means you can afford to have some cautious mistakes by a young group of skilled people. If they don't do it, all right, we kick it away, the defense will stop them, and then we try it again. As that group does mature, now the advantage of that defense and the Gardocki weapon as a field goal kicker as well as a punter make Clemson that much tougher.
And they are getting tougher, no question about that. Let's take a look at some of the final stats from this afternoon's game won by Clemson here on homecoming.
Well, at halftime, Duke had a 2-yard advantage, 148 yards of total offense to 146. So you can see that in the second half, Clemson had over 250 yards of offense, and they really shut down defensively the Duke offense. In a large part because Duke just didn't have the ball very often, and Clemson, after having less time with the football in the first half, ends up with the dominant time of possession.
Well, Duke did dominate possession time early on, and unfortunately for the Blue Devils, who played well, their offensive scheme was fine. They moved the ball well. They couldn't finish off their drives, and the interception in the end zone really hurt their chances.
I think that was the key play of the ball game in a lot of ways, because Dave Brown has to learn, and perhaps that lesson is finally driven home by what happened to him today. Last week they made a number of turnovers in the scoring zone. Here it is early in the ball game. You're trying to close the game or try and close the crowd from being too much of a factor in this game. You figure, well, at worst, I'm going to come away with 3 points. Instead, you throw the interception, you get nothing. They eventually turn around and put points on the board. And so instead of being up 7 or 3-0, you're down 7-0, and you're facing that same old uphill climb again.
And against a good team, as Clemson is, you can't afford to do that. You can't give them too many chances. Let's talk about our MVPs, our Schick MVPs for this afternoon. There are the choices that we have made. Not really very difficult. DeBose had a great game. Interception, fumble recovery, numerous tackles. Deshaun Cameron running and passing the football. An excellent performance here this afternoon, and as part of the Schick Most Valuable Player Award Scholarship Program, Schick will donate $1,000 to the Atlantic Coast Conference to be distributed among the member institutions under a conference-approved plan. The Schick Slim Twin disposable razor, it reaches every place on every face. And those two guys did a great job. Let's go back down. We've kind of quieted things down, I think. Mike Hogwood has dispersed some of the folks, and he's tracked down Coach Ken Hatfield again. Let's go back to Mike.
I tell you, I was worried there for a minute, Coach. These people went nuts at the end of this game. They're really excited about this win.
Hey, Mike, they have a great time here, and this is why it's such a family affair, and that's why people love coming to homecoming. They love for coming here all the time, and you see the fun and festivities now. If you saw the field, there are a lot of athletes out there now.
Tell me about the game today. I know that early on, Duke was moving the football on you, and it had to cause you some concern in the game, especially early in the first quarter.
Well, I knew Duke would play hard. I think the worst thing that happened was them losing 59-0 because they weren't that bad. Turned it over 7 times last week, and you're not going to win doing that. I knew they were a tough team. They would have gotten back to fundamentals. They weren't going to give us anything easy, and they didn't. And I think really the play of the game had to be Dexter's interception.
It was after first and goal, and they did not get it in. That seemed to turn everything around for your team, fired up not only the defense but the offense as well.
We had a good drive right after that and went on down and scored, and I think that changed. I think defensively that was the play of the game. Offensively, it was Rudy Harris's long run.
What about this win as far as the conference is concerned? Of course, you do have the one loss to Virginia, but traditionally one loss has been in the running for the conference championship, so you still have to feel pretty good about your chances.
Well, we got to just do our part, and Virginia certainly got to do theirs, and the biggest thing right now is we just want to be playing our best and keep going. But since 1982, no champion's gone through undefeated.
Well, last report I had, I was hearing East Carolina out in front of Georgia. You guys starting to keep an ear on that ball game today?
I think that a lot of things, with us coming up next week, I'm sure Georgia may have been looking that way. I think that was a concern I had, too. Playing Georgia next week, them winning 2 close games like they have against Southern Miss and Alabama. I was hoping that we would keep our mind on Duke. And the last 2 weeks with Appalachian State and Duke, our kids have done a good job of preparing, keeping their mind on the game plan. That's what I'm proud for. I know they'll be ready this week.
Your first year here, looks like you've officially become a Clemson Tiger.
I'm a Tiger all the way through and through. I appreciate all the fans. It's just been a beautiful day. We appreciate Jefferson Pilot covering the game, and I thought it was a good game, and they did a good job. I think the kickoff return will give them something to build on for next week.
All right, that's Ken Hatfield, the head coach of the Clemson Tigers, and we'll be back here at Death Valley in just a moment. You stay with us.
Be good.
26-7 is the final here this afternoon. Scoreless first quarter. It was 10-0 at halftime. And right before the half, a 51-yard Chris Gardocki field goal. That was a big point. Then on the first 2 possessions of the second half, Clemson scored a touchdown and a field goal, made it 20-0. They advanced that to 26-0 until the long run back. Some other scores, Jack.
Michigan, with the good running they have had, are on top of Maryland, but the Terrapins of Joe Krivak have been tough all year. What a scoring barrage they've had in Charlottesville this afternoon, as you've got 63 points on the board already in the third quarter. Here is probably the biggest shocker of the day. Army was unbeaten. Got to give a lot of credit to Bill Dooley and the Demon Deacons. They are bouncing back and rolling up the score.
Wake a big winner over Army. NC State and North Carolina slugged it out to the tune of 9-3.
Well, they are still in the third quarter in that one as Carolina tries to come up with the win. West Virginia, they have struggled this year, but surprisingly out in front by a large margin on the Pitt Panthers. Notre Dame showing no mercy to the Purdue Boilermakers. They've decided in their third straight Big Ten encounter that it's not going to go down to the end.
And Alabama coming alive 31-0, and you look back at Notre Dame, I guess they decided they didn't need that bounce this week.
And here's the score that Ken Hatfield and Mike Hogwood were talking about. Georgia perhaps a little bit of a letdown after the Alabama win and looking towards Clemson next week, having some problems with the Pirates of East Carolina. Steve Spurrier and the Florida Gators are working their way towards another SEC victory.
A 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Boston College over Navy 28-17 in Eastern College football.
And how about that score? Early in the second quarter, Oregon State with a 7-3 advantage on the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. This time of the year, the Huskers usually don't have too much pressure, and I don't think they expected Oregon State to be out in front in the second period.
No, you're right. You know, usually this time of year, their numbers start with 5s and 6s.
That's right. Yeah, they're playing Kumquat State and people like that.
Well, the final here was 26-7. Good, solid performance, I think, by Deshaun Cameron specifically. He played well.
And it'll be interesting to watch Clemson as they mature during the course of this season. We're going to see them several more times this year on the JP Sports Network. I'm looking forward to watching the growth of that Clemson offense.
And, of course, if you're a Clemson fan, you're hoping for a loss somewhere along the way by Virginia so you can get back in the hunt for the ACC championship.
And also for the Duke Blue Devils, they just got to try and regroup, get themselves going. They can get a victory. They still have a lot of football yet to play.
There's a lot of football yet to go in the Atlantic Coast Conference for this 1990 season. Jimmy Rayburn is our executive producer. Steve Craddock is our producer. And Dave Burchett is our director, and the rest of the fine crew helping us. The final is 26-7. Clemson a winner this afternoon over the Blue Devils of Duke. My thanks to Mike Hogwood and also Jack Corrigan. I'm John Sanders, and we certainly hope that you've enjoyed this one. Next week, same time, same local ACC station, but we'll be in a new location. Georgia Tech against the Terrapins of Maryland, all starting at noon on Saturday right here on JP Sports. JP Sports personnel outfitted by Champion Products. Contribute to your favorite ACC school by renting from Budget, the official car and truck rental company of the ACC. Call Budget for details. You have been watching JP Sports exclusive coverage of Atlantic Coast Conference football. So long from Clemson.